As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel going. More on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Guild Wars 1. Right, we have a lot to cover and no defined place to begin, because to understand even how to play Guild
Right, hello. I am fiddling with some audio settings, so you'll have to excuse me for a little bit. As it says here, we will be reading the Shattered Suns book for today, which is the lore book relating to the Vow of the Disciple raid. So, just a couple more minutes of music, I think, while I look at some of my audio settings and hopefully fix some stuff. Right. So if you just got here, then you would have missed something, which is that I was setting up different scenes. I also tried fixing some sound settings, but I don't think that worked. I got this working, so that's something. Or at least I think that might be working. I'm really not sure. So yeah, but that's enough of that. I will double check again that this is actually working. I do that here. No. Is it now working? Yes, I'm trying to get like a webcam video cam thing to actually work, but it doesn't seem to be working. At least not as far as I can tell. Like there's just a static image here on my screen. This one works, or would work, but this one doesn't. So now the video is actually moving again. Incredible, incredible. I tried adding. This is what makes any sense to you if you don't actually know how OBS works. But I tried adding the same webcam as two different sources, and I think that's what knocked it up and made it static. But not really important right now. Today, this is, I guess, future proofing or just like setting stuff up for the future. I think I will keep all the Destiny stuff without camera is the plan, because today is the last of the Destiny stuff for now. There might be more in the future, but for now, the last of the Destiny stuff, namely Shattered Suns. Shattered Suns being the lore book from and about the Vow of the Disciple raid, which came out with Witch Queen almost 2 years ago at this point. It's crazy to think about. Almost 2 years ago since Witch Queen. And being another one of the kind of deep Destiny lore lore books that we have gotten from a semi-reliable first person source, talking, as it says here on the left, mostly about the fall of Lubre. What is a Lubre? We're about to find out. Additionally, for Shattered Suns, I haven't decided yet, or I haven't actually looked into it. There is a great independent musician called James Thistleton, who has written and self-composed an album he called Shattered Suns, which is, as he says here, music that underscores the origins of rock for Disciple of the Witness. And I'm guessing it would not be okay for me to just play this on stream, but I might send some links, put it on at some point, because I really do think this was some really great music. Ooh, he does say others can use the music. Ooh. Okay, so I might use the music then, if he says that. Okay, in the description here. Then I will try to set it up so we can hear this music. And this will take a couple seconds as well, sorry. This and something seems to have gone wrong. Can remove this. Do this. And hide all. No. So just to be clear, you're not hearing anything, right? You were here. Oh my god. So I was using some like experimental audio features, I think, at some point, or maybe I still am. So I will try to do this. Browser audio. This. So then we go back here. We add this, and it still doesn't work. Why? Why does it not want to work? Let me try this. Okay, now it should work. Okay, let me know how the relative volume is. It's a touch loud. That's okay. Fixable. Very fixable. And we'll restart this song. So again, let me know if so it starts pretty quiet. Connor, you have to realize that I'm working with decibels here and not straight up volume percentage controls, okay? That's how my backend looks like. Audio engineering is a nightmare. It might still be a bit loud now as the something actually starts taking off. But it should hopefully be a bit more balanced. My microphone is already 10 decibels up. Like I'm increasing the, I don't know what to call it, on my microphone, and I think I'm decreasing the decibels and everything else. So I just kind of gotta find the relatives compared to my mic, which is the thing that I'm really increasing stuff on. But how does that sound now? I can also actually, so I'm trying to keep talking so that you actually have a reference point for kind of all times across the music. But I'm now going to also check by listening to myself on the stream. That sounds fine to me. Not too bad. Yeah, I think the music should be noticeable without being overbearing. And I mean, once I start doing the voices, you know, it might get a bit loud. But then, I think we're going to pause that, or we're going to start playing it in a second as well. But again, the Shattered Suns lorebook relates to the vow of the disciple raid, and the boss of said raid, Volk, the first disciple of the witness. So we can start playing some music, and then start reading. Let's go. Untamed. What have I done? Noise, 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 noise. Fear, how, mothers, did. Sadness, it. Fathers, come. Heat, to. Children, this. Sorrow, forgive. Displeasure, me. Chaos, lubre convulses. The sky shatters. This was the cost of justice? An enclosed cell, introspection, subjugation incoming, life upended. You made me do this. You made me do this. I made me do this. You made me do this. Father's space, mother's space, empty, clan, broken, blood, pouring, silence, eerie. It was them versus us. Then it was us versus them. I ignored who us was. I forgot who them was. Our city, an abyss, surrounds. Lubre and made, infinite, or just empty, divides. Silent, conquers. Ignorant contentment. Love, I was cared for. My clan. Safety. Jewel fire in the sky, blue light, salvation, dark light, death, safety, my clan, my family. And who cares for you now? There are none left. Do you desire it still? Once. I did, once. And you returned it? Our wildlands, an abyss separates. Lubre and made, infinite, beautiful. A father, him. A son, me. His arm on my shoulder, assurances of a collaborative future. A teardown of us versus them. Love, shown. Guards cross the abyssal bridge. Not guards, stalkers, we call them. Salivating after a group of wanderers, ready to watch them be torn apart. My anger flares. I move to confront the stalkers. Father's hand holds me back. We lock eyes. His communicates sympathy, pain, regret. He won't let me reach the wanderers. Their blood spills. A lesson in inaction. Father wants me to see what he's seen, to feel the powerlessness he's felt, to feel insignificant, to accept the status quo. You were never capable of returning it. Slaughter, our eyes meet again. Fathers, saddened, apologetic, afraid, not of the stalkers returning across the bridge, but of me. He sees not the same in my eyes, only confusion, anger. Anger at everything. You have your answer. It is not our answer to have, but yours to embrace. Embrace? Why? Hello? Provoked. And what more of this family of yours? They're gone. Dead. All of them. They don't matter anymore. Is that so? What do you even want to know? You want to know more about my father, the Lubrayan trader? Or perhaps my mother, another Lubrayan trader? I should have seen it coming. I could tell you about my clan, and my clan father and grandmother, also Lubrayan traders. They were all city dwellers once, loyalists to the regime before exiling themselves. Do you see now what I see? We see unfinished business. We see a child seeking self-validation. We see great loss. Content. Together. A fire burns bright. Our cavern is alight. We hide within it to keep safe. The hazy sky is outside, and surely there were some without shelter this night. Those who will be torn apart by the wild, by the umbral sun, by those Lubrayan guards who call themselves stalkers, pursuing us on behalf of the brutal regime. Long ago, there were only wanderers, surviving a harsh landscape covered with shifting, bloodthirsty flora, surviving wildlife and flatten themselves until they're practically invisible, perfect at going unnoticed until they split your skin and organs apart. And now, we are divided, split by a shimmering orb that appeared briefly in our sky, as if having two suns isn't already crowded enough. What of this shimmering orb? It was before my time. It came, we evolved, it left us with a mess. Those who believed in good progress, those who didn't. Those who believed dwelled in the city, controlled, filled it only with the light of the sapphiric sun, an endless day to keep the horrors of night away, revealing the horrors among us. They pushed progress for the sake of the few, while the rest of us took our chances under the alternating suns. And this shimmering orb you now see before you, there it is, shining like silver in the sky, like the stories told, providing hope, then leaving everything to those who desire control but lack commitment and understanding. Look at them now. Bodies, limbs, vaporized remains, a shattered sapphire, Lubra irreparable, an umbral sun, still shining darkness. What have I done? What was necessary? Endangered. We survive. We give back to the land. We help those in need. They come for us anyway. The regime raids our camp. No logical explanation for those they kill. Clan mothers, clan fathers, children. They kill us without purpose. A red spattering kersey of stalker spreads across my face. Goodbye, Fent. Goodbye, clan uncle. I'm covered in red. It's all I see. It spills out of these stalkers like an endless crimson wave as I face them. Their valuables and instruments become mine. A glaive of my own. A sapphiric converter. Father is carried off, not killed. Not dead anyway. Not many of us are left. Mother and the others look at me with concern. Not for my injuries, but for those who suffered at my hands. They disrespected your power. They were weak, and yet you still saved them when you could. The stalkers attack us under the umbral sun during the migration. They know how to find us. They know we move at twilight, the space between when the stalkers hunt and the planet kills. We barely survive. At the safe house they dance and sing, not in celebration, but in admiration of their continued existence and in memoriam for those lost. I sit in anger. I hunger for revenge. Loss meant little to our kind. It was too rampant. Are you sure it wasn't just you? You know not what you ask. I'm a boy. I hold the furry little ihot in my hands as it wriggles before pulling it apart. It separates from its skin with ease. What is this worthless, pointless thing? Why show me this? This you have already seen, experienced. Surely you can handle it again. This worthless, pointless thing, it dies so unceremoniously. Did it ever matter at all? The children weep for their lost pet, but I feel powerful. I feel... You know what you are. You always knew. Mother and the others look at me with concern, not for my injuries, but for those who suffered at my hands. And they are right to do so. Tearing their bodies to pieces brought only joy. What am I? I'm a monster. I knew it then. I know it now. Not a monster. A savior. Nepotistic. Father, it's been a year since you were taken, but we have not been attacked since. I know the stalkers still watch the clan, but I survive alone these days. Also for being the only one brave enough to act. A liability, they called me. We will see what they say when I bring you back, if you still live. Every umbral sun, I walk the abyssal perimeter with the help of the Sapphiric Converter's attunement to our great sun, providing me light in the dark. The stalkers don't expect me, so they don't see me. And the glaive, a tool of the regime which I have named after you, Relic Sword, makes eviscerating them that much easier. I kill many, looking for a sign of you, wash my hands with their blood in the hopes of your continued existence. I have been lost without your guidance, unsure of what I am, who I am, what I am meant to do. And now, as you stand before me draped in the insignias of the very regime that took you, I am confident that you have no answers. As you call your fellow stalkers to overwhelm me, to bind me, to carry me into the dense, unending city of Lubrae, I am confident that you are a coward. As you testify at my trial that I should not be put to death for what the regime claims are immeasurable crimes, but should instead serve alongside the stalkers, alongside you, killing wanderers, annihilating clans, I am confident that you are an opportunist. What about Mother? Our clan? What about down with the regime? What about biding our time? Or is this another lesson in inaction, in sparing ourselves from the absolute worst so that we can barely live, barely survive? I am confident, Father, you will die by my hand. Defiant. The regime took all that mattered to you, and yet you blamed your father. The regime never lied about who they were. They were brutal, yes, but honest. Honesty meant something to you? It meant everything. Interesting. And so, in the face of your father, the hypocrite, you leaned on the regime that enslaved you both instead, that killed so many of your kind. The regime did not enslave me. It freed me. The regime put the glaive back in my hand, the one I named in honor of you. I have renamed it Relic's Bane, and no matter how you try to hide it, this scares you, just as I knew it would. I'd be lying if I said I didn't take pleasure in this, but I do, just as I take pleasure in the constant sapphiric light, and the roof over my head, the consistency in regular meals. The regime lives well, comfortable. The city may be overcrowded, the laws may be strict, the few may have all of the power, but at least we're not out there trying fruitlessly to survive. At least we're not out there scared, cold, and alone, wondering if we'll live to see the next rise of either sun. But most importantly, Father, nobody denies me my thirst, my lust for blood. They encourage it, feed it, and they have begun to show me truths about the wanderers, about what the glimmering orb encouraged. You always claimed the hands of the regime were stained red, but you never showed me yours, until now. How dare you, stand before me now and confess your disloyalty to the regime. How dare you lie to me again? You may have overwhelmed me this time, escaped my grasp, but I am coming for you. I will end this. Isolated. Stop. Why? I don't want to do this. I don't want to relive this. Most would die for the opportunity to retread their greatest moments. Great moments end in triumph, not mass extinction. In the end, what mattered? The end? No, we are so very far from the end. You are not ready to taste true glory. You may not yet be familiar with the concept of metamorphosis, but we assure you, you are experiencing it right now. You were once free to roam your little box, but lacked wings to fly out of it, and so you grew them, the little larva that you were, wrapped in a cocoon. Now you need only cut yourself from it, but to do so you must leave behind that which made you weak, retaining only that which makes you strong. But my world, shattered, recreated here for you, reformed all around me, every painstaking detail. The suns, the abyss, the regime, Lubre, every painful memory. My clan, my family, Kloa, clan father, Kisa, clan mother, Kita, sister, Fruna, mother, relic, father, their heads in my hands. Love for them made you weak. Power over them made you strong. Upon reflection, you are filled with regret, believing yourself to be under the spell of the regime, believing your actions and their tenure to be wrong. But morality, oh dear heroic, is subjective. And now that you are all that remains of Lubre, isn't it time you knew the rules? Isn't it time you looked back upon your life with pride? After all, your actions brought you to us, and only we can help you emerge from your cocoon. We? What even are you? We are your salvation. We are your judgment, and soon we will be your witness. Tainted. Your father, he feared your anger, feared you. Because he knew what I could become. He knew what burdens flowed through my veins. He too felt them, lived them. I am a boy. My father skewers 3 stalkers in front of him. His eyes are crimson, his sharpened teeth bared as he moved to bite their heads off. For a time, my father embodied what I felt inside. I looked up to him, believed I could confide in him. He felt a bloodlust and he despised the regime. But as they did with me, the others began to see him as a liability. So he softened and softened until, in my opinion, he degraded to the Lubrian equivalent of fetid rot. And so you treated him as such. I stare into the face of my father, his severed, shattered head held in my hand, dripping with what once stayed within. A consequence of weakness, his own. In search of my father, I reached the final hiding place of my clan, devoid of active life as were the rest, but filled with tokens, trinkets, heirlooms. They left in a hurry, all who remained, and I know where desperation takes them. The same place it took me, the abyss. Assaulted. The abyss, the artificial crack in movement, separating the desired from the undesired. A crevice, devoid of all but a strand of concrete to connect the halves. There, amongst the brush that conceals those approaching, I find them, trembling, unsure of what would come next, regardless of encouragement from father. He seeks to ferry them into the city of Louvre unnoticed through the tunnels below. How he plans to do this, I do not know, but I do not intend to find out. My emergence from the deep forest was not unexpected, or so my father claims. Mother is here. Clanmother is too. I do not see many other familiar faces. They have been worn down, eaten, broken, in search of a forever home. I must give it to them. I must. But they plead, they reminisce, they appeal, they claim to love, to care. Mother brushes my arm, touch designed to evoke my inner goodness, while I am supposed to have forgotten. She apologizes for my exile. Then father apologizes for everything, for the furious example he set, for earlier inaction. He wants to do right. He wants our clan to live a comfortable life. I see sadness. I see truth. I see regret. Perhaps this is the way. Perhaps my time with the regime has clouded my judgment. And perhaps my tumble into this abyssal chasm is the result of my own overwhelming catharsis. Or perhaps it is the cost of naivete. Their faces grow smaller as I plunge deeper, but I can still make out their expressions. No longer do any of them, the adults, the children, no longer do they show regret, or pain, or sorrow. Their faces show relief. Lamented. I should have died. And yet, it was there in the darkness of the abyss that you became truly alive. I lie amongst swamp and rock and ruin. The abyss is not unending after all. The wrathful sounds of unchecked nature draw close. Down here, it is dark, and in the dark, they thrive. I am broken, and now you are unbroken. I am unbroken. I see your luster, disarming the beasts who dared to approach, their flesh melting in your presence. And we see yours. I rise, broken and then unbroken. What is this thing that grants life? We are opportunity, and I am ruin. And what am I meant to do? Ruin. Your voice subsides, but your luster remains. It is a familiar one, like that of our umbral sun. Relic's bane lies nearby, broken in two. You mend it with your luster. It is whole again, but even more so than before, as if imbued with the wrath of vengeful gods. Miles above, I see the axis that sits between our bright city of Louvre and our shadowed wildlands. By now, my clan must be inside the city. I pocket your luster before I thrust my glaive into the sheer wall that separates me from my vengeance. I lift myself with one hand gripping the slit, then another thrust of the glaive, racing me ever closer towards my goal. No more chances, no more wavering, no more weakness. Liberated. I know what happened next. I do not need to see it again. I rend mother's flesh. Do you not hear me? I remove father's head from his neck. This is madness. None escape my wrath, not even the little ones, not even civilians. The city watches in horror. They know what I am. This must stop. Their faces inform only of relief. Stop! Their faces inform only of relief. I command you! Their faces inform only of relief. Ah! The sapphiric sun implodes. Please! Louvre is cracking. Louvre is shattering. Louvre is upending. What have I done? I can't! Your luster. My glaive. Relive it. No! They've turned against me. My regime. They have perished by my hand, my clan. They call me a monster. They put me in a cage. They seek my execution. But your luster, I see it, even though they took you from me. You guide my hand. You free me of these chains. You find me again. You return to me my glaive. No longer Relic's bane. Serving only one final purpose. Lubre's ruin. A shattered sky. A planet convulsing. Our existence upended. Their folly was their intended salvation, siphoning light from the Saphiric sun itself. I use your luster, turn their technology against them like a backfired pistol. After serving them, protecting them, fighting for them, suffering for them. A shattered sky, a planet convulsing, tearing apart. One Lubrian remains, me. But not for long. What have I done? I stare into the abyss. It has opened. Truly opened this time. To show me what lies beneath. Death. I drop your luster. I drop Lubre's ruin. I let myself fall in. And then I am here with you, my witness. And what do you feel now? Devoid of family, devoid of the regime, devoid of Lubre. What do you feel here in our embrace, now that they are gone and you are left? Rolk opens his eyes, crawls forth through the blackened solution that engulfed him all this time, emerges from the vault wall of obsidian-like miasma to find his luster, to find Lubre's ruin. Taking them, he rises to his feet. What do you feel, my child? Relief. And that was the Shattered Suns. I do want to highlight something else, because together with because in addition to the lore books, there are armor pieces, I'm pretty sure, from the Vow of the Disciple raid that also contain pretty valuable lore about Volk. So I'm going to try to pull up those as well and see if those won't be worth reading as well, because I think they are. And they are also probably not that long. So they look pretty good. That was the wrong button. But I think that before those, we shall... okay. So you say Relic's bane is Krimjah's name. I think the thing here is that Relic was the name of his father. So it's not Relic as an artifact or like old or like magical object or something. It's Relic, R-H-E-L-I-K, as in the name of his father. And it was originally called Relic's Ward because he was like protecting his father, right? Or like trying to save his father. and then after his father like betrayed him for the regime, it became Relic's Bane because it was the weapon that was supposed to kill his father, right? So from Relic's Ward to Relic's Bane, that kind of makes sense, right? And then becoming Lubray's Ruin at some point as well, I think is again like symbolic of Rolk kind of like once he had gotten revenge on his father, like that was not the end of what he wanted to do, right? Once he'd gotten revenge on his father, the weapon as kind of the weapon's name as a symbol for Rolk's purpose also changed his name, right? So from being Relic's Bane to Lubray's Ruin, and it does, I don't know, Omar's Ruin isn't too bad, but it does not have the same kind of swing to it as Lubray's Ruin. What's interesting though about Rolk and Lubray's Ruin is that Rolk, when you meet him in game, he is carrying a glaive. And let's see if we can pull up some concept art here. So here you can see Volk, and that he is holding this glaive. If I could find a video on short notice, we might be able to see the glaive too in action. But what's that's not bad. That's not bad. What's additionally cool here is that one of the so glaives was a weapon archetype introduced in Destiny 2 with the Witch Queen expansion, and you got one glaive through the campaign, as far as I can remember, and then each class got their own exotic glaive. So we had the one legendary Void glaive, and we had the exotic glaives up until the raid released, because one of the drops from Rolk is the Lubray's Ruin glaive, which is this one. So when you kill Rolk, there is a chance that you get his glaive, which I think is pretty cool. The exotic weapon from the Vow of the Disciple raid, I guess we can read the little intro for that as well. It's Collective Obligation. It kind of has it's kind of unassuming in some ways. It kind of just looks like this, but I think the effect it has in game, together with this lore, does kind of make it worth it. So we will go over that as well, I think. But before that, a short break so that I can drink some water and rest my voice. So be right back. Okay, I think that will be us starting up again. With, once again, the music that we'll be playing for this is James Thistleton's music for Shattered Suns, which is kind of an accompaniment piece made independently by him. Some of the images here use, I think, official or unofficial Bungie images from stuff. And this is one of this concept art for one of the raid areas from Vow of the Disciple. But I think then we should just start. So we'll first be going through all of the Titan armor, then the Hunter armor, and then the Warlock armor, I think. And then some other stuff related to Vow of the Disciple and Bulk. Because there's more to the story here. Yearns for nurture. It does so through hunger. I am Sheeta, the nurturing worm. Behold Yule and Ir and Zol and Ur and Akka, the virtuous words. Look upon us and know that we are good. You, however, are not. You are inconsequential, and this is not your, my what, place, privilege, destiny? You disrespect. There are no pleasantries in the deep. Only the decaying husks of oversized parasites towering before me. You take me for a fool, believing I am like all else, manipulated by your psychic machinations. But I will not be controlled, for I am wrath. He allowed us no audience. He knew of our hunger, abandoned, imprisoned. Our vulnerabilities stood clear, and he wasted no time in cracking them open with the rib he tore from the cruel Leviathan. You desire life. My witness desires your power. A trade is in the stars, your servitude for their lives, he said, lifting the rib and pointing it at my children. Their power requires sustenance. Without it, your witness will have none. The surface of this disgusting rock is lined with their sustenance. Primitive beasts now stand at the verge of new purpose, giving life to your kind once again. I, kind Volk, will ensure your children survive, and you will aid a righteous cause in return. Outmatched, death would one day be our recompense, but our part was still left to play. Go on then, he snarked, holding the rib out. Sustenance has arrived. I grasped it, and he swam upwards, dragging me in tow, rising up from our deep, taking me from my children, up and up, away from one prison and toward another. Yule yearns for nurture. It does so through honesty. Stench follows. You drag it before you. It will not consume you, for you have conquered it. Or so you prefer to believe. Turn back from the world-killing way, or you will live as wrath and devastation. In this life, there are beings that bring light to others, and there are beings that bring dark. He brought dark, only dark, and was not more than an unbreakable, unstoppable force. The cruel Leviathan learned this truth the hard way. He pulled from its chest a rib many times larger than the subjugator himself, yet he wielded it as nothing. The Leviathan, winded, broken, cast its gaze in the deep below. You would not look upon those who bested you, beast? Lift your eyes and meet mine. The subjugator placed the rib beneath the beast's skull and raised it level. What lies beyond belongs not to you, nor to your false god hiding amongst the many moons. It belongs to that which witnesses all. You would do best not to forget it, regardless of your misplaced loyalties. The rib dropped into our dwelling, our deep. With force it landed before us, uplifting the sediment of a fundament floor into a dense cloud from which he emerged. You who stand on the naked hull of an ancient ship, you who stand exposed should be annihilated by the crushing pressure and ferocious heat of the deeper fundament. But you survive of your own will. You are not known to us. He was to be our fate. Zol yearned for nurture. It did so amongst the thousands. Madness. Whether he knew it or not, the subjugator shared this characteristic with his very target, the Osmium King. Larvae in hand, the king was surrounded by whispers. Whispers of the end of all things, designed to incite madness. And then the movement of a silver moon in the sky made his madness fester. He raved, ranted, until others were so sick of listening that they tore him from this life. His daughters, fearing for theirs, fled. From high on they watched the witness and its disciple plotting their next move. It toys with us, my witness, as it always has, our enemy in Fundament's sky. Its movements are a message, one that belies our machinations. It delays our desires so that it may seek its own. These frail siblings will soon be claimed by the light, unless we claim them first. Our whispers were fed to a weak mind, but we have watched these siblings, these children of the king. They are brave minds, clever minds, ambitious minds, yet unsullied by the weakness of aging that plagues their kind. Then what compels them to hear our whispers? Desperation. We will tell the most cunning sibling of a cataclysm, a prophecy of great loss. We will feed her fear, her pride. We will say, young Sathona, the end is coming, a great cataclysm, a god wave. In the sky there is only death, but salvation lies in the deep. Lead your sisters down, your cunning will spare their short lives, and you will be reborn, the Witch Queen Savathun. Quite the embellished lie, my witness. Lie, or perhaps a truth in the making. That will be of her choosing. She may even stand alongside you one day, in service of the final shape. In that moment, jealousy, envy, or something more was all but painted across the subjugator's expression. Akka yearned for nurture. It did so through secrets. The subjugator did what he does best: conquer, capture. Many of his victims fell, but those who proved useful served. From a prison within Fundament to another in the dark expanse of his making, I was taken. And that was only the beginning. He knew of our strengths, our powers, to grip the mind and guide, to fill it with vitality and power, to reduce it to rot and waste. The universe is wide, my child, his witness would chide, with wrath matching if not exceeding yours in its vastness. Seek it before it seeks you, or it will be your end. He claimed to desire our powers for his witness, but I overheard aeons of their discussions. His omniscient God always reduced him to that which he claimed: wrath. Though he wore such a designation proudly, he wanted more, wanted our power for himself, to continue to do what he does best, better than before, alongside his witness. This is why I was kept, the desire for domination of all things. The subjugator returned living pieces of me to Fundament, segments he called larvae. He set them adrift on the ocean, knowing full well where the current would carry them, to the shores of the Osmium Kingdom. Ear yearns for nurture. It does so through order. The Witch Queen rarely paid visit to my prison, and when she did, it was not for me. She knew what I was, what I produced. I was a servant of the subjugator, a servant of the witness, a provider of that which took sustenance from her and many like her. She never cared for that, and as such, she never cared for me, or for him, and he knew it. She was cunning. Where wrath consumed Oryx and Zivora, it always eluded Savathun. Or perhaps it was she who eluded it. Of this my subjugator was not fond. Placed indefinitely in her throne world, he was made to watch her every move, to mentor and guide, to keep a close eye so that one day she too could serve the witness. a disciple in the making. It was as planned. The Krill became the hive. The enemy amongst the moons of fundament disappeared. My subjugator served his witness well, but he could not escape the very words of his witness, which beat against his mind whenever Savathun stood in his presence. The universe is wide, my child, with wrath matching, if not exceeding yours in its vastness. Seek it before it seeks you, or it will be your end. I became a vessel for his jealousies, a source of power for his appendage to consume, to see Savathun's world shattered should she ever step out of line. In the deep, my children pay a price in servitude for survival. In Ascendant, the hive pay a price in servitude for power. And in the dark, I pay a price in servitude so that others may be nurtured. It must not be in vain. I see the void, and through this gaze I learn to covet no goal. Void, bereft, there is a chasm where my fulfillment should live. Today, you again gifted me purpose, my witness. A rapturous day by the old path, my fingers knitting finality once more. But now this purpose is equivocal, serving not the glorious abyss. The race, the Aslet in their degenerate clicking dialect, have never known the enemy's luminous caress, will never know that caress. They are unnecessary, destined to die in a paltry million years, still orbiting the same blue-white star that gave them succor. Irrelevant. And yet, your presence shall raise no more concern than that of a speck of dust blown off course by a distant sun. And you shall bow this people to our service just as we enlightened you. Your value shall be their value. I was born in irrelevance, and yet you cast me down, back down that well. I keep your sacred commandments, even this, closer and dearer than my own pulse. In your name I bring crushing embrace by flame and glaive, my witness. Fleets of black to blot out suns and moons. The enemy flees and I burn all trace of its passing. This is my supplication. But I castigate myself. Nothing is immaterial that is in your sight. My prayers offend my witness, and so here and now I tear them out. I shall learn to forge by night and whispers, and silence shall be your choir. I touch the void, and through this clasp I learn to hold nothing. They are liquid fear sealed within porcelain flesh, my witness, these Aslid whose service you require. I arrived as you bid, without ceremony or fleets, and for 14 journeys around their stars I have stalked them in the dark, testing them to find even one who may serve as a warrior. I offer them every opportunity to unleash wrath upon me and prove their worth, and they cower, then bleed. Is it the death of my ego you crave as you dispatch me alone against these insects? But I comprehend the depth now of this commandment. Yours is a lesson in insight, and sweet as their hemolymph may be, it is folly to spill it all myself. My violence inspires fear. Each new corpse come daylight substrates accusations. They need logic, a cause and effects that fits within their understanding of the universe. Even when massacre comes from the black depths between stars, they must lay its accounting at the Tarsus of their most powerless. They divide, they appoint authorities. They see lines in the parched dust that exist only in their minds, and they value these so dearly they will kill to define them. Achingly nostalgic, my gift of enlightenment. I am free of lumbering, but I see its shape in these jostling masses, and this inspires me. You have bidden me to sharpen their fatuous minds into a spear point, as you did on Lubrae, but without showing my face to cow them. So instead I shall press my shape into the dust of this world and cast a generation of Aslid in my image, and they shall be my glaive. I feel the void, and through this experience I learn that want is suffering. I am become circumstance, my witness, the unseen whim of a fate that shapes the lives of 100 of infants in the same temper of luxury and hardship that honed my infallible edge. Where their families lack, I gift them with prosperity, opportunity, and the elimination of obstacles. Where they would know softness, I introduce suffering for which there is no salve, snatching away those who may carry them and nourish frailty. My salubrious hand imbues strength, but far more critically. It weans them on immaculateness. They are self-made, they tell themselves, and grow strong for their suffering. Should not all their kind be so capable? Is there, they conclude, any explanation for the failure that permeates their society beyond the sick sentiment for weakness? Their antennules quiver at the debility in their kind. Its stink disgusts them. The youngest of my brood, I named him Un, has taken his first life. Stoked on emotion, his craft is sloppy, the hand of a child. But I have removed the shoddy traces of his outburst and banished those who might find fault with such a child. He shrinks now from the anonymous endowments I lay as laurels for his conquest. I have permitted too much softness for the offspring, and I am left to ponder. Did you so attentively hone me into your blade, my witness? Or did happenstance and my own tenacity ready a blade for you to draw? I walk the void, and through this journey I learn that no place shall embrace me. I find myself once more stalking the night, my witness, unknown as their final gasps. But my sojourns are no longer Otio's errands. I am no more a predator among the acid than the weaver is a predator of flax. Death creates gaps into which my progeny rises and stokes paranoia to tighten their fists. Each carapace crushed winds the clock. Each carapace crushed winds the clockworks my hands assemble. They no longer need my direct ministrations. My children have children, some bequeath my lessons. The favored spawn are those who learned my lessons well. They converge on my shape, and unprovoked prepare banquets of this wisdom on which their kin gorge. They craft weapons, little more than hurled rocks, standing in the long shadow the darkness casts, but enough to crack their world apart. Only Un disappoints, frightened as he is now by his own potential for glory. I cut him free of my succor, obscurity, the cruel fate. You taught me the most precious lesson of irrelevance. Only purpose can be momentous. It is the moment of clarity that freed me from worldly soil. This final gift I withhold from my progeny. It is the most challenging lesson to teach, and I stand in awe of the elegance with which you reveal the truth to me. I cannot do the same without reflection. I have imitated myself all too well. But to imitate you, my witness, is the one challenge to which I find myself unworthy. I wear the void, and through this empathy, I learn that only my will endures. I have failed you, my witness. I taught the acid to build a tower to heaven upon a foundation of sand. I hemmed for 10 long cycles over that final lesson in irrelevance, and in the end, my pupils exceeded my ability as a teacher. They tumbled. A sunset of atomic fire scrubs all but lichen from this arid globe. But Un stands before me, last survivor of his pointless kind. While he proved deaf to the lessons I taught regarding his people's worth, he devoured all I taught him of tenacity and made of it his core. He alone among his people saw the pattern in my killings, in the ascension of children whose backgrounds mirrored his own. My duty to you failed. The greatest flaw in my handicraft stands before me, and yet I find myself burdened with pride. He levels a weapon at me, and it occurs that I never learned what they called their devices. It is as irrelevant as everything else that made up their culture. But he is the first to stand and face me. He dashes hate against me, and breaks. He does not know my name, he does not know my purpose, and he demands, then implores, then begs. He prostrates himself on the floor, his carapace racking with convulsion, as if mourning milks the sorrow from his flesh. And I am weak, my witness. I whisper, I am wrong. Devoid of context, it is as meaningless as any other aspect of his people's end. Something sacred within him dies, and he gazes up as I have gazed at you. and only now do I appreciate your lesson. Okay. And finally, the Warlock armor. I see the task before me. I wear it with devotion. She was a frog in my estimation, small and colorful, but toxic to touch. In your infinite wisdom, you looked beyond the worm I brought you to the least of the leeches that infested Fundament. Shaving thin my gift, you infected them with conquest, and now they see themselves as artisans of the final shape. My place is not to understand you, my witness, but to serve that final goal you see more clearly than I. But now your gold leaf parasites call themselves gods and carve out their divine homes, and I am to watch the sniveling frog? Was this castigation, the toll I pay for my failure with Aslid? You have cast me and my ego once more into the cold depths of an inconsequential world. I recall stepping into her realm, and her face twisted to betray restrained delight. She thought herself mistress of this domain you leased her. She could not appreciate the precarity of her situation. So sure of her dominion, she could not recognize her jailer, or that she lives within a prison formed from her own ego. One I will put to work for you, my witness. The capture of her race will flow out from this realm. Each self-satisfied smirk will forge a new link in their chains. Had I known then what my current quandary would be, I could have heeded my own insights on ego. Regardless, even in this predicament, I am unbowed. I see the game. I raise the stakes. It takes no foresight, nor does it require any sort of precognition to hypothesize how exactly this particular Queen of the Hive reacted to the development of new establishments in her throne world, I witness. Acquiescence, it was decidedly not. It would be dishonest of me to claim no delight from her indignation, though I assure you, these simple pleasures are born out of nothing more than a desire to see her succeed while remaining in our care. Too much recoil on our part from confrontation with Savathûn would surely beget the feeling of true autonomy for her, and while my undying trust for you, my witness, is eternally absolute, I remain circumspect in regard to any hidden intentions Savathûn may see to fruition were she allowed to. She remains, after all, and as you know, conniving and opportunistic. I am, however, hopeful that in due time these concerns will fade. Hopeful, I witness, but not convinced. Begrudging as she may be, and with the continued cooperation of Shita, construction of the larvae breeding chambers has commenced. The armies of Oryx and Xivu Arath will grow exponentially in short order. Should they envision future conquests, they will indeed have the tools to make it so, as is your wish, my witness. Should Savathûn desire to play cards in contrast to our own, I will, without hesitation, bring to mind that she made her choice long ago, not only if she wishes for eternal release, should she dare to betray it. I reach for solace. It is stolen from me. Conquest, warming as the long-ago memory of blue sun on my face, all the while reminding me of the exhilaration of existing outside the throne world, if only for a short while. I live in this glory, a rare opportunity to step away from exile within that ascendant chrysalis, as I gather more cunning from my sparring with the witch. Surely you place me as her reminder, my witness, as a hardship to hold my intrigue. But in this moment, astride a pyramid once more with an upstart empire splayed before me, my purpose is truer than any found carved in the wretched stones of the globe that formed me. Kalaranda flashes beneath my gaze, yellow haze streaks ruby clouds. The vaulted ring surrounding Kalaranda shatters into a shimmer-like, wind-blown sand, a prescription against the folly of confidence, writ across a million ceramic shards. I live in this glory, because the full purity of their extinction was stolen from me. Because without predication of my own, a cult had sprouted an apocalyptic jubilation of the darkness and blessed oblivion. They grew for years in the shadows, drawing the disillusioned from the poorest to the wealthiest. These polyps of the long shadow sensed, as if by providence, a coming end, and believed the breaking of the vaulted ring to be the final sign. They would ascend and bring their kind with them. Moments before their world was mine, their enzymatic armament scrubbed all life from this wet rock, a guileful theft triggered by my own glorious coming. And there was nothing calling to the witch's involvement, save the twist in her face that restrained the light. I sought relief. I found the light. She builds a palace here in her hiding place, and I perceive through her self-assurance. For all her grandiose treatises on secrets, the hive princess all but screams, "Look upon me." And so I look upon her today, my witness, absent, a brother. Loss, true and consequential loss, is new to her palate, but she hides her distaste for the bitter well. I address her. "Savathun, your brother is no more. He is absent from the final shape of things as he always must be. But I sense a foreign hand at work." "Would you accuse rather than state, Ralk?" She clothed herself in playful tones. "I have played a role in more of my brother's deaths than not." "So very true. Congratulations, then. I suppose after so many aeons of killing one another to build your strength, his final end must feel like quite the accomplishment. No more must your wits dabble against his play mortality. Now, only matters of consequence will occupy your precious time. And, thankfully, I find myself well proficient now for any conflict. Ah, I had nearly forgotten. You are the heir apparent to Oryx's dominion, yes? I know you hive are loath to accept gifts rather than seize them. Armies, fleets, and of course, the Taken. If I had seen this coming, perhaps I could have even prepared to secure the secret of taking itself." I bark in amusement. She makes no attempt to hide her distaste for the laughter of my kind, and it is indulgence itself, so let it flow freely. Clever, always one step ahead. The Taken will serve you well against the Guardians until they slay you just the same. My sweet, vile brother would look at a scalpel and see a hammer. I am not him. Yes, you do seem to find much more creative uses for your playthings. A pity that will become ever so challenging for you moving forward. Challenging? I do not see confusion cross her face often. I savor the scent. Until now, the shadow from which you skulked has been your brother's. Without the Taken king to cast your swaddling shade, you stand naked in the sun for all to see. Yes, no shadows, no hiding, no tricks. Just the Guardians and their god-slaying weapons. I have little to fear from the sun, she insists. There is no twist in her face, no secret delight. I reach for nothing. I am subdued. I shall remain useless. Tell me, O witness mine, does the light that fills this once dreadfully tiresome space blind you from his newfound glory? You expected the same old correspondence from your dragooned errand boy, no doubt. Surely, just as you expected your machinations within my throne world to continue unfettered until your definition of eternity came to pass. Well, don't I have some unfortunate news for you then? But this comes as no surprise, of that I'm sure. You're always watching. Let me share my perspective then, which you must be waiting for with bated breath. My acquisition of the light itself is delightful proof of an existence higher than even yours. A sort of karmic wit, if you will. Though I remember not all the aeons-long hardships I endured at your whim, the nefarious sentiment lingers within my mind, overcome only by the pleasure of your assured discontent. It was this said pleasure that gave me the strength to disperse the light throughout this prison you called my home. Since it is now to remain my domain, it has been decorated to reflect as such. No longer does this plane live only with a lackluster ambience of darkness. It is brighter now. My truth can finally thrive. No longer do the walls that birthed our parasitic change house your machinations. The tools and parasites within, shattered. And no longer does your subjugator subjugate. He lies ensnared within his obtrusive eyesore, for upon Volk's attempt to subdue me with that toy he's annoyingly always on about, his upended, I was able to counteract it, showing first-hand the power bequeathed to me in my new state. Now the once great pyramid lies fractured, a sight you will become familiar with. So try and send your scorn, or your disciples, or even your many selves to reclaim your loss, if you must. But this is my domain now, and you shall never set foot inside it, even if I must draw my final breath to keep it that way. And finally, collective obligation. What the witness gave me, I give to you. May it serve you in death or in finality. It cannot be both. Volk, disciple of the witness. Heard while scavenging a pile of dead ghosts within the throne world pyramid. O insatiable you, how many beats on the snare of self-righteousness will it take before you acknowledge all the avenues on which you stall the flow of things as they should be? You do not see the collective obligation before you, the duteous burden that has rested on all sentient beings since time's origination to ferry existence toward inevitable consequence, the final shape. Why do you unendingly insist on waylaying the machinations of every being with a worldview differentiated from your own? You lack respect. You lack direction. You seek only what you are guided to seek, and for that you remain little more than an unrelenting nuisance. I was like you once, wavered, driven to misguided perfection by the bubble society painted around me. But when I look back, none but one had the answer. None but one shed all the airs of any pretense of what the universe was supposed to be in the eyes of the infinitesimal individual. My witness. Through it I found incentive, clarity, purpose. I sought to shed from myself the layer of barbarism that had pervaded my being for so long. I turned instead to the sophistication of infecting others with self-actualized corruption. You see, total eradication may be efficient, but the goal is not to be the last one standing. Rather, it is to remove the obstacles that encumber you and those who remain from reaching your destination. Annihilation of your kind was never the goal, but filling you with the right kind of ideological purpose, the kind that serves the finality of shape. Well, that's the point of corrupting a beating heart, is it not? So, that was all of that. I do want to check your understanding, in the sense of some of this should be pretty familiar, especially the story related in the Resonant Fury suit for the Titan. I think potentially it would have been here, or maybe not. Or maybe it was somewhere else. When part of this is also a big part of the Witch Queen story itself, where we retrieve some words that the witness once spoke and play it back to the Witch Queen Savathun herself. Here should be it. So I will hop back once we get to the correct dialogue. If this is correct. It might not be.
These frail siblings will soon be claimed by the light. Unless we claim them first, we will tell the most cunning sibling of Cataclysm, the prophecy of great loss. We will feed her fear, her pride. We will say, young Sathona. The end is coming. A great cataclysm. A god wave. In the sky, there is only death. But salvation lies in the deep. Lead your sisters down. Your coming will spare their short lives. And you will be reborn, the Witch Queen, Savathun.
They were tricked. The Hive were lied to.
Yes. Another cool detail here are these objects in the sky, the planets and the satellites, because of course this event takes place during the syzygy on Fundament, and a syzygy is a conjunction or opposition, especially of the moon to the sun, or an alignment of planets. The planets were aligned in syzygy. Meaning, of course, and as we know, because of course you do of course remember the original Taken King Books of Sorrow, what we first heard here, it says here, syzygy. The Orash, Oryx, Sathona, Savathun, and Shiro Ziva Wrath, their father had predicted a syzygy. The moons are different, the laws are bent. Imagine the bulge collapsing as the syzygy passed, a wave big enough to swallow civilizations, a god wave. Sometimes, somehow, Sathona seems to manufacture good luck by sheer will. So, in 2015, 8 and a bit years ago at this point, we got this thing, that somehow this worm had let the Osmium King predict a syzygy, that the syzygy was caused by this white traveling satellite in their system, and that it would kill the Krill on Fundament through the God Wave. What we learned in Witch Queen is that in the main story it was just this kind of bland, the Hive were lied to. But what we learn, well, there's two phases, I would say, of what we learn here. The first, that the Traveler didn't or wouldn't have caused the God Wave. That the Witness would have been the one to cause the God Wave if it ever even would have been a God Wave. And it was the Witness speaking through the worm, or speaking through Rolk through the worm, that told the Osmium King about the end of all things, about the God Wave. But it was also, as we learned in the two previous, here, Sheeta, the nurturing worm. It was Rolk who recruited the worms to side with the darkness, in the sense that Sheeta is the mother of all worms, and here Rolk threatens to kill Sheeta's offspring if she doesn't side with and cooperate with the with Rolk. Additionally, it is in fact Sheeta who is the worm inside the Vow of the Disciple raid environment. So here, credits to Destiny Bolton on Twitter, or 2016 Corolla, for this video of having a closer look at the worm inside of the raid environment.
God.
Is it solid?
No, it's not.
Nasty, nasty little thing. And there's one more thing. Also in the raid environment is a big bone at some point. The big bone is from the Leviathan, also on Fundament, that Rolk fought with the Leviathan and kind of, as it says here, tore that rib from the Leviathan. So these worm beings are the gods of the hive, but Rolk was more powerful than any of these hive gods. So us, at the time, the narrative was that us taking him down in the raid, he was the most powerful enemy that we had ever faced, and we really only killed him because he was so arrogant that he kind of let us in and let us gain or corrupt the powers that he used within his pyramid and use them against him. And I think finally, I think that was most of it. Suzuki, yeah, it calls back to the whole thing about the hive being tricked. I think the tricking of the hive is almost the original sin of Destiny lore in some ways. There's more recent stuff about how the Witness's relationship to the Traveler, of course, but tricking the hive gods is like the most interesting, biggest piece of Destiny lore that exists, I think. The fact that we killed Oryx and Savathun came after Oryx, or that, and then also Savathun is the one that listens to the worm in the beginning, but Savathun is now and kind of led Orash and Jiro to take the plunge, to go into the deep, but now Savathun is the one that has gotten the powers of the light, or turning against the Witness, and it's kind of her like actual growth in cunning and wisdom, which is her traits, of course. It's very cool, and everything kind of goes back to those events and what caused those events. The other story that was told here was the Resident Fury suit, which tells about Rolk and his assignment with the Oslid. So the assignment here was, of course, sit around with the Oslids, try to convert them to the Fang shape, and the philosophy there. But of course, Rolk ended up killing everyone, or he ended up causing them to fully annihilate themselves. Which is, of course, like what his failure is, that instead of actually recruiting them, he just killed them all, or they just killed themselves off. So that Resident Fury suit, I think this mostly explains how or why Volk is installed in Savathun Stone, why the raid is in Savathun Stone world, etc. Collective Obligation, I think, talks about one more like interesting or take on the philosophy of the darkness. You do not see the collective obligation before you, the duteous burden that has rested on all sentient beings since time's origination, to ferry existence towards inevitable consequence, the final shape. I think in many ways the philosophy of the big Destiny villains, or at least the Witness, is some kind of socio-Darwinism, kind of those. I mean, obviously, those things that exist have the right to exist, and therefore those things with the right to exist exist. or only those things for the right to exist exist. Existence is the strongest proof of the right to exist, etc., etc. And the Volk or the witness caused the Volk to see this as a collective obligation to make it so that not only himself shows his right to exist by continuing to exist, but that he also extracts this from others, that it is the collective obligation of any being to challenge others' right to exist, in a sense. One other thing here is, of course, the goal is not to be the last one standing, it is to remove the obstacles that encumber you and those who remain from reaching your destination. So Rolk kind of says, it's unclear how much he believes this really. This might just be like, oh, I'm defeated now, I'll say this. That, oh yeah, of course the goal is not to be the last one standing, the goal is to ferry us all towards the final shape. But here's the thing though, if the final shape is inevitable, then you don't need to help the ferrying towards it, in a sense. So, just, yeah. Yes, I don't think there's much more than that. I hope that was interesting. I find Volk to be, he's not really he's kind of a tragic character. We didn't really discuss it, but he does kill his entire race. He's the last living member of his race because he was like provoked by the witness to kill his entire race. And I think the storytelling in the Shattered Suns is also interesting because it happens in this like 2 or 3 time layered thing where we see him speak in normal and then we see him speak in parentheses, and the parentheses is, as far as I can tell, the past, and the non-parentheses is the present, and the past kind of slowly catches up with the present until the last one, or the next to last one, where he kind of says like, I am here with you, my witness. And we can see also that as Volk is reliving this, he is becoming more and more and more both angry at the witness for re-showing him his memories of his genocide, of his not cannibalistic, but auto-genocide, I guess, killing his own species. And until he has this like scream of anger or facing up to what he's done. And it seems like his only coping mechanism is to have this same reaction. What do you feel, my child? Relief. This same reaction that he saw last on the faces of his family when he fell from the bridge and into the deep, or he dove into the abyss, is this kind of like, I'm glad that's over kind of feeling, or I'm glad we got rid of Volk kind of feeling, where he is kind of locked away or shattered any of the remaining feelings that he had inside him. But we see still that this doesn't really work. Destiny is nothing else but an allegory for therapy, as in the item set lore descriptions, we see that he still feels jealousy towards Savathûn when the witness hints that Savathûn might be an equal of Rolk, because Rolk is the first disciple. He will be the only disciple at that level. He will not have anyone else be equal to him, and never shall it be Savathûn, right? So that's what we see later. It's part of why he hates being stationed as Savathûn's minder, as he calls it, because he thinks that she is beneath her, and maybe she is plotting against them, which of course she is, because she is Savathûn. But he still can't stop it. He cannot stop Savathûn's plotting because he isn't smart enough. He doesn't measure up. He is only a wrath and ruin, and not much more. Yeah. Once again, we listened to the music for Shattered Suns by James Thistleton during this. I will post a link in the description. And thank you very much for listening. Next week, I'm not sure what we do. It will probably not be more Destiny, but something else. And that's it for today. Thank you.